Welcome to White Plains Roundup. I'm Bob Johnson. Today on the show, we have singer-cellist Serena Jost. She's got a couple of records here I want to show you right now. We're going to actually listen to a brand new record that she's just produced. And she's a cellist, a performance artist, a singer, and she's from the Midwest, recently transplanted to the New York region, currently in Manhattan. Serena, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
How's everything going?
Things are good. It's a beautiful cloudy day. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
So tell us about how we're going to listen to a track from the record you just recorded.
Yes.
You found a church, you took your cello, and you played and sang. And what was that? What drove you to do that? Or what?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to make another recording, and I wasn't sure what it would be. And then it sort of just came to me, like just a picture, like, oh, this is going to be a solo cello and voice recording, and I want to do something live, because these other two albums that you showed, I was very excited to make them, but they're more produced, and they're very sort of intentional and perfected in the studio, and they have a producer. And I wanted to make something that I self-produced, that was live, that included all of the wonderful moments of performance and all of those that are right on the edge. So basically, I wanted to do something that was really true to the moment, and kind of take a risk and see what happened.
Well, in acting, because I come from a theater background, one of the things that we do as actors and directors and people who work in theaters is to really get into space and how space helps us create a performance. So I imagine that was part of the reason why you were doing this, that maybe there was something about that space that enhanced the performance.
Yeah, you're really right, and that's exactly it. There's, when you're in a church, or it could be a synagogue, or some space that's not a commercial space, but a space that's meant for congregation. And this particular church was built in 1838. So you go into the church, and the first thing I did when I went in there to see if I wanted to do it was sing a little. And the way my voice traveled in the space, I was like, oh, this is it. I really want to work here. And then performing there, I normally perform for a microphone that's right here, but suddenly there was this horizon, sort of endless, and going up into the rafters, and it was really amazing. And I felt, I wouldn't say ghosts, but I did feel, I felt, the presence of all these people who had come to this place over more than 100 years. I mean, that's a really incredible thing. So I felt like I was participating in something that was already there.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you go into a big empty space, acoustics become either a challenge or, it helps to have these wide open spaces. What was it about it acoustically that made sense for you?
It was like I would make a sound, and it could be on my cello or my voice, but I would be sort of lifted, and it would just be carried, and that was the reverberation going through the church. So it was like I was bigger than myself, is kind of what happened.
So you felt like you were on stilts.
Yes.
So I think what we're going to do now, Keith, why don't we listen to a recording from this new record from Serena Jost.
Fix
It's a beautiful piece.
Thank
and when people describe your music, do they say things like contemporary, classical? How would you describe it?
It varies. I find it difficult to describe in a way, but I encourage people to think of, just because I have a cello, not necessarily to put me with classical.
Right.
You know, obviously I come from classical music, that was my background, but I sort of think of myself as an indie spirit rocker or something, you know, I'm indie, but I also have, I guess I'm kind of always questing for some spiritual thread. And so, you know, some of my things are much more lighthearted.
Right.
And this piece in particular does have like some classical techniques, but I'm being a lot more dirty in how I play it, so it's rough, you know, which is intentional, because so there's a little bit of defiance in my cello playing.
An anti-Yo-Yo Ma.
An anti-Yo-Yo Ma. Yeah, I mean, he's of course incredible, but yes,
yes.
you know, my mission is different, so.
Yeah. No, Yo-Yo Ma is just amazing. And so contemporary classical, we're going to take that description off, and we're going to spiritual performance. And as you said, you have some work where you perform with a band.
Yes.
And you do,
Yeah.
and we're gonna take a look at one of, or a couple of your videos to have that experience. So as you said before, we talked about the going and doing this solo. What it meant to you to do it as solo, but also what does it mean for you to be working with a regular group of musicians?
Yeah, I love doing the solo thing, but in a way also the band has been so central to me. Over many years I played with different people, and one person has always been a linchpin, and that is Julian Maley. He's my guitar player, and he's the sort of person like I can come to rehearsal with a song, and he's like a spider, he drops right into the center of it. You know, we don't have to talk about anything. So there's an understanding that we have. It's really deep. It's almost like a sibling, musical sibling or something. And then Rob Jost, who spells his name the same way as I do, but pronounces it differently and is not related. He plays bass, and Robert DiPietro plays drums. And those guys, you know, I feel so inspired and free when we perform together, you know.
Well, why don't we go and take a look at one of the videos? Which one would you like to do first?
Why don't we do Nearly Beautiful? Do you want to do the live video
Sure,
first?
we'll do the Nearly Beautiful.
Yeah.
And this was filmed
This was filmed at Joe's Pub at my CD release a couple of years ago.
Okay, so why don't we roll that, Keith? Thanks.
Maybe I'm pleased. Can I take this time to sit in a chair, see everything's fine, to beg and believe is hardly so new, but maybe I'm pleased. There's a special view. Nighttime and shade were never the same. I'm watching from behind. Yeah, the play goes on without you. Yeah, the play goes on and on. A pillow soft beneath you. Yeah, the play goes on and on. Warmer and cold, pull on the string. Sum up the world, weave words into wings. Both near and apart, barely undone. Warmer and cold, has anything been won? It's nearly beautiful, I'm almost overjoyed. Dim the lights down low, when will the star arrive? It's nearly beautiful, I'm almost overjoyed. Got the best seat in the house, but I'm watching from behind. Yeah, the play goes on without you. Yeah, the play goes on and on. A pillow soft beneath you. Yeah, the play goes on and night. Thank you.
And we're back here in the studio, and yeah, that was what the band is really pretty lively.
Thank you. Thank you. They're amazing. Yes, thank
They
you.
are. And is it when you put these pieces together, is there elements of improvisation, and or is everything kind of structured? How do you develop your
Well, I
sound?
guess there's sort of two answers to that. The first one is with the band. I write the songs and I bring them completed with an arrangement. But I choose people to play with because of how they sound. I don't like to tell them what to do because I feel like my decision is made when I choose them. I've cast them, as the bass player or the drummer or whatever, and then they bring to it what I, would never imagine. And that's what I want, that alchemy. So like Julian, for example, never takes the same solo twice, which I love. I mean, it's like a high wire act. Sometimes it's just amazing, and sometimes we kind of, fall. And I don't care because I want it to be, moment to moment, I want us to be taking these chances together. So there's a lot of trust there. And then for my solo project that I've just completed, that, there were songs that I brought in that were ready to sing and play cello with, but then I also did these improvisations. And the person who recorded that is someone named Adam Gold, and he's like one of those kind of almost, they're almost invisible type of engineers.
I've heard his name kicked around before.
He's amazing.
He's
yeah.
supposed to be very, very good.
Yeah, and some people can be, doing something, but they disappear while they're doing it. And he's one of those people, so you don't even notice him when you're performing. And he was very clever. Well, I just went off one day, the second day of the recording in the church, and he grabbed a whole bunch of improvisation, a lot of which made it onto the recording. So it was just it was just something that he saw or recognized, And I was very, I was sort of taken away by the church. And so, so it was just a moment. So I really count the people who I get to work with as my collaborators.
Well, your music has a way of drawing people in, like what's going to happen next. I mean, you have that anticipation. I mean, you purposely write that way. It's like.
It's an interesting question. I think writing is a funny thing. It's like you definitely have your intellect and your intelligence and your experience, and you work on what you do. But for me, sometimes I'll be walking, and it's like an idea it sort of presents itself to me, or something is just clear, like an image, or it's just instantaneous. Like it's not a thought that I had. It just sort of appears. And then it's up to me to use my intellect and whatever to sort it out. Then there's like a stack of drafts for the song, But every now and again, I get a song that I have it's like I'm in a river, and I'm just trying to write it down as fast as I can. And then it's done like in 10 minutes, and I didn't really do anything. So, but those don't happen all the time,
And I know before we went on camera, we were talking about birds and
Yeah.
how they influence your music, and it just reminded me, how birds all of a sudden will appear in a moment and, flutter across your vision.
Yeah.
And,
And they're like both their strength and their fragility, because they're so tiny if you think about it. I mean, you could crush them, or they can be hurt, but they're also so strong. I mean, they can fly for thousands of miles, or they can withstand all kinds of conditions, So I think I'm attracted to the sort of interplay of strength and fragility,
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's go to the music video.
Yes.
And then we'll have about 2 minutes when we come
Okay,
back on
that sounds
camera.
good.
Okay, Keith. So let's play that. What's the name of this piece now again?
This is called Almost Nothing from Closer Than Far. This is a music video, and it was produced, the record was mixed by Brad Albetta, who's worked with Martha Wainwright and a lot of other people, and so check it out. I did all the artwork in it, so you'll see.
How can I find it? Where can you get such a feeling for nothing? My turn, will you offer something for your nothing as we go our separate ways? Go easy. How could I miss it? What do you lose when you find what is missing? Nightlife, alter ego, something that is nothing as we go our separate ways. Go How will I end it? When do you stop what starts at the ending? Keep this small memento
music video, and also here's a couple of her recordings. Serena Jost, and she's our guest today on White Plains Roundup. And just, we have a little over a minute left. Talk about a little bit about the Brooklyn art scene and Manhattan art scene and what's going on there in terms of music, you know, just for a minute.
Mm-hmm. A lot of great things. There's so many talented, original artists, you know, raising money, creating music, making records. There's a lot of beautiful venues in Brooklyn, like the Owl Music Parlor, which is it's wonderful. It's new, has great programming. Manhattan, I'm at Rockwood Music Hall a lot. Yes. In fact, shall I?
You can mention Joe.
I'm at Rockwood Music Hall on the 10th of October.
10th of October at Rockwood's.
Yeah. Rockwood Stage 3, downstairs. Wonderful place.
I haven't been to the downstairs.
Oh, please come.
Okay.
With the band. And so there's a lot of creativity happening. The man that I just mixed the new recording with, his name is Chris Butler. He's on at a scene in Bushwick. He's astonishing, and there's really exciting things happening over there. So there's a lot of vitality in the scene.
Well, that's all the time we have, and I want to thank you so much for joining us today, Serena Jost, here on the White Plains Roundup. You know, it's only 34 minutes to Manhattan by train, and you know, got to get out to see some of the great music venues in Manhattan and Brooklyn. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you next time.